podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Lila Fear.
And I'm Lewis Gibson, and you're listening to Anything But Footy.
With the latest on the Winter Olympics.
The IOC President Kirsty Coventry has arrived in Milan. Team GB chef de mission Eve Muirhead is there too. And the sport starts in a week's time. It's nearly fun and games time. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and this is Anything But Footy, covering the Olympics and Paralympics all the time, not once every 4 years. And we're close to being there, in Italy as well, bringing you daily pods with all things Milano Cortina 2026.
Hi, I'm Eve Muirhead, I'm chef de mission. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
So coming up, Team GB name their final team members.
Hi, I'm Laurie Taylor, Team GB athlete for the Milan Cortina Games.
My name's Anna Price and I've been selected to the Olympic team for cross-country skiing.
Team GB's Eve Muirhead also confirms final team numbers for the Games.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
And I'll never get tired of hearing that, whilst I round up the final and outstanding team performances before the Games.
Team GB also have a new boss to impress, someone we know quite well on the pod.
Hello, my name's John Dusson, I'm Chief Executive for British Cycling.
We'll bring you the details on that and the other news from the Games.
This is Anything But Footy. Do stay in touch with us all the time. You can follow us on our socials and you can read all about us, including our latest blogs on the website anythingbutfooty.com.
Hi, it's Niall Tracy here, Team GB short track speed skater. You are listening to the Olympics with Anything But Footy.
So we are actually recording this podcast. Normally we're at opposite ends of the country, but we are actually recording this podcast together in the very same room where we recorded our very first podcast. Yes. And if you remember, cast your mind back to when we did that in 2019, you said to me on that first podcast, what was your earliest Winter Olympic memory? And I said it was the Winter Olympics, Torvill and Dean, Sarajevo, 1984. And here we are now, 42 years later, on the cusp of another Winter Olympics, and a special one for us.
Yeah, it is a special one for Anything But Footy because, as you say, we're here together, we've been planning it, we're ready to go. But for the first time, and we've covered a number of Olympics. We did Paris with the being official broadcasters with TalkSport, and you've worked with TalkSport over a number of games, whether that was from home, whether that was Tokyo or Beijing, or as we've said with Paris. But really, for the first time, Anything But Footy is going to be in Milan in its own right. Yes, you are still going to be appearing on TalkSport, and rightly so, bringing them all the news. But we will be doing daily podcasts every day, rounding up all the headlines from Team GB, all the other headlines, all the news from the Games, and also a feature that we're calling TNT, which is quite apt because they're doing their first ever Olympic coverage, but we're calling it Today's News Tomorrow. So you will hear, if you listen to the podcast each day, you'll know what's going to happen 24 hours ahead. So we're going to try and give you an idea of what you should be looking out for each day, and we'll hear from those athletes as well. Yeah,
and we've got loads of great athlete stories to bring, which we've spent quite a lot of time over the past few weeks and months recording. So we will find out more about those athletes, how they started, what makes them tick. And we've got a lot of explainers coming up as well, because we know for a lot of people that will be huge Olympic fans, but still there will be events and disciplines in the Winter Olympics which have different terminology, different types of scoring, different types of systems that people will not be overly familiar with, but they will get into. And so we're going to have lots of explainers from the athletes themselves talking through how their event works, what you should be listening out for if you're watching any of the TV coverage, or hopefully listening to any of the radio coverage that I'll be doing on TalkSport. So everything really that you need every day, just to set you up for your Olympic day. So you listen to us in the morning. We'll be pointing you in the direction of some of the Team GB hopefuls, and that won't just be the medalists, but that will be members right across the team, because we've spoken to, well, it's a team of 53, isn't it? And we've spoken to most of them. We have, yes. So we will have those interviews for you. We'll have little guides to what events, and some of those events, of course, that Great Britain won't win medals in, but will still be exciting and still be great to watch and follow along.
So a total of 53 British athletes, Michael, have now been finally selected to compete against 19 days of competition. That's where people have got to realise it all starts before the opening ceremony, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to begin our podcast before the opening ceremony because what you're going to start with actually is one of Team GB's big medal hopes, and that is Bruce Murray and Jen Dodds in the curling, the mixed curling. And there's some history potentially on the cards there because both Bruce and Jen have got Olympic medals, and they both won medals in Beijing. Bruce a silver, Jen a gold medal. They could win a medal in that mixed curling, and then they have their men's curling and women's curling events as well, and that would be a chance for a third medal. Which would be a bit of Team GB British Olympic history at the Winter Games.
You're getting ahead of yourself there slightly.
Yeah, I am. But I'm just sort of, that's what we're going to be trying to do over the course of the Games. And as you say, first time Anything But Footy has been there as an accredited organisation for the Olympics. And whilst, yeah, you're right, I'm going to be concentrating on my work with Talk Sport on the radio. Looking forward to joining you on the podcast and hearing from all the athletes as well.
The final team has been selected, the final few members of the team
have
finally been selected.
We've had two more, actually, this week, which is Jacques Jeffrey and Shauna Pendry. They're the first biathletes since 2018 to compete for Team GB. They were the last two names on the team sheet. We thought maybe Cornelius Kirsten might get a late call up in the speed skating, but it doesn't look likely now. Shauna will make her Olympic debut, having competed in the European Youth Olympic Festival in Sarajevo in 2019 and the Youth Winter Games, which were held in Lausanne in 2020. Jeffries will be making his debut for Team GB at his first Olympic Games too, having made his first World Cup season this year. He'll also be making his debut on Anything But Footy during the Games as well, because we're going to be speaking to him all about that switch, because obviously he's based out in France and he now represents GB. We'll be finding out why, and he'll be telling us all about his events as well. So the biathletes, they start their campaigns on day 4 and 5 of the Games. That's the men's and the women's individual events. They join the curlers, the sliders, the skaters, and 20 snowboard and ski athletes aiming to hit that UK sport medal. Well, we've written target in the script, but I'm just raising my eyebrows to you. Ambition, and the UK sport medal ambition of 4 to 8.
Yeah, after we told you the sliding team last week, 20-strong ski and snowboard team were confirmed over the weekend, with athletes still competing right across Europe and the United States. And Michael will actually have a roundup of some of those latest results in a moment, and they are pretty impressive as we head towards these Olympic Games. But some big names and some new names for many to get their head around. So, look, if you've been a listener to Anything But Footy for a while, you'll know them. If you're new, then make sure you keep listening and go back and listen to some of the podcasts, because we have some of their stories already. In fact, we spoke to 15 of the 20 snow and ski athletes that GB Snowsport confirmed with Team GB in their team.
And have we now increased that? Because
no, it's 15 from 20.
15 from 20?
Yeah, included Jacques.
And Anna?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done the maths. I really have done the maths. But look, we're delighted for them, but we're really pleased to have shared their stories with you as well, and more of them are coming up in this podcast and more to come. So, as I've said, go back and listen to Kirsty Muir and Gus Kenworthy on their journeys to these games. Very different, back from injury, back from retirement, success, only deciding 6 months ago to come back. Really good stories. Go back and listen to them. They're 2 of 8 of the so-called park and pipe athletes that are competing for Team GB. Returning Olympians, Zoe Atkin is another one of those. And you can hear their stories on the GB Snowsport specials that we made in the run-up to 2026. World champion freestyle boarder Mia Brooks will be making her Olympic debut alongside freestyle skiers Liam Richards and Chris McCormick, and snowboarders Maisie Hill and Chemamezi Brown as well. Again, you can hear all of their stories by listening back to Anything But Footy.
And you mentioned those special episodes of the podcast that we did with GB Snowsport. One of my favourites amongst them, and we did 2 series, was when I sat down with the 3 Alpine guys. Absolutely just loved seeing the dynamic between Dave as the kind of senior member of the team and seeing Billy and Laurie as well. So Dave Riding will be going in his 5th and final Games. It's going to be, as I said, a team of 3. So that is a bit of British Olympic history for the Winter Olympics, because Billy Major and Laurie Taylor, who were on that podcast with Dave, they're both back for their 2nd Games as well. And John has been speaking with Laurie.
for us, we have a lot to go until the games. We've got a race this weekend in Kitzbühel, then we've got another race in Schladming. So we have two big races for us, which cut the sort of the last couple of races of January, which make up the bulk of our World Cup season. So yeah, we've got some big events already before the Olympics, so our minds are very much on those. So the Olympics do feel quite far away. But yeah, we've got races, then we'll have training and a block leading up. So it does feel like we've got time.
Yeah, absolutely, and time to enjoy it. And you mentioned we, because this is very much history being made here, because you're one of three British male alpine skiers who are going, which has never happened before.
Yeah, since I guess since the ones I went to in 2018, and especially since the last ones in 2022, the goal has been to get that third spot at least unlocked, and it's been 4 years in the making to get it since the last Olympics, and finally this year managed to get that last spot unlocked, which is a huge relief to be able to have the whole team there because we're all so competitive. We're all at a very high level, and it's amazing to be able to send us all there as a team. No one's left behind because last time that was me that didn't get to go, and you know it's an amazing an amazing event to get to go to. Obviously, we have the World Cup, but this is only every 4 years, so waiting another 4 years, it feels pretty sweet to have us all in there.
And you're going to be, I think, north of Milan, in not where everybody else is. So you're not in Cortina, are you? You're in a different location. Tell us about that.
No, we're going to be in Bormio, so a little bit away from the women's skiing in Cortina, and away from Milan. But it's actually where we've had the English champs races for quite a few years. So I've raced there before. It's a great venue. We had the British champs in April last year in Santa Caterina, which is just around the corner. So we were in Bormio. We went to have a look at the piste. It didn't have any snow on in April, but because we wanted to have a little secret ski on it, but we didn't get to. But yeah, so it's a place I've been before and skied before. So yeah, it's exciting to go back and attack that slope.
How much do you get to train on the actual course before you race?
So you don't at all. So the slope is closed and nobody gets to ski on it. And the actual course will be set in the morning, usually sometimes the night before. You'll get like 45 minutes to inspect the course where you can slide down slowly. You're not allowed to ski it. You can inspect the course, memorize it, and that's all you get. And then you're in, and you've got one shot in each of the two courses. So they'll set one for run one, and they'll reset for run two, and you have one shot to ski well.
And we talked about you being a team with Dave and Billy. So actually having three people going down it should be more of an advantage because you can all kind of confer. Is that fair?
Yeah, so usually we'd have someone with maybe a radio at the bottom, and so the first person that goes down, which is usually Dave, he'll radio up a course report, or and when we know how each other skis, so if we watch each other, we can get a bit more of a read on how maybe the course will be. So yeah, it's definitely an advantage to have the three of us there.
What does it mean to be back representing Team GB? The fact you're back in Europe as well, and people can come and support you.
Always an honour to represent our country, represent Great Britain. And obviously we do that on the World Cup, but it just means a little bit. It's a bit more at the Olympics. There's other sports. You're part of something a little bit bigger than it feels maybe at a World Cup race for the British ski team. So yeah, it's definitely an honour to do it. It's fly the flag and represent the country. My wife is coming, and that is, I think that's who's coming to this one. I think, yeah, the logistics were pretty tough in terms of getting accommodation around Bormio. So yeah, it'll be my wife, but she's always my cheerleader at the races, so she'll be screaming loud. And I know everyone at home, all my family at home, will be watching on TV and also screaming loud. Maybe I'll hear them from the UK as well.
Because it helps with the time zone, doesn't it? That's a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely having everything similar time zone in Europe makes it, a lot more Brits can get involved and watch and show their support.
Finally, then, Laurie, what can you achieve now? You've got that achievement of that third spot. You're going to the games, all three of you. What could the British skiers achieve in the slalom?
The discipline slalom, it's so competitive at the moment and the level's so high, but on the day anybody can win. That's the beauty of it, especially on a piece that's not usually on the circuit. It can open things up to a wild card, but with the way we're skiing, any one of us Brits can be in there in the top positions, so anything's possible.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck. Many congratulations again, and we'll see you out in Bormio.
Thank you very much. Yep, see you there.
So good luck to Laurie, Dave, and Billy, a team within a team.
Hi, I'm Marcus Wyatt, skeleton athlete with Team GB. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Olympics.
Now, we have to name every GB Snowsport star going to the game, so bear with us on this, as snowboard cross duo Charlotte Banks and Hugh Nightingale are confirmed for their fourth and second Olympics, respectively. They teamed up to be the world silver medalists last year, so they are in form, well worth watching in the snowboard cross team event. Also, the individuals, Charlotte Banks having a great season as well on her return from injury. Ollie Davis, who you'll hear from during the Games, will also return for his ski cross competition towards the end of the Olympics. He has a long wait for his, and his journey to get there is something to listen out for, because he is literally doing it for the country and for the love of the sport. He's got some support from GB Snowsport, but he's having to fund himself to do it, and he's there for his second Olympics.
Michaela Gherkin-Schofield returns for her second Olympic Games, having recorded Britain's best ever Olympic moguls result back in Beijing in 2022. She'll be joined by Team GB debutant Matteo Jonassen, whilst Andrew Musgrave, like Dave Riding, is returning for his fifth Winter Olympics in a very strong cross-country team. I wonder whether 5 games means he's in the running to carry that flag, or one of the flags at one of the opening ceremony events. We'll hear from Eve Muirhead actually about what she's thinking as far as flag bearers are concerned in a podcast coming up in the next few days. Joe Davis, who we heard from in those GB Snowsport specials we've mentioned, will make his debut alongside James Clugnet in his second Games, whilst Team GB has its first female Olympic cross-country skier since 2018.
My name's Anna Price, and I've been selected to the Olympic team for cross-country skiing. Cross-country is pretty unique in the way that there's lots of disciplines within the sport. So there's classic and skate. That's the biggest difference. It's kind of 2 styles of skiing. And then there's lots of different distances of racing. So you can have sprints, which are, usually 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers, somewhere in there, and races up to 50 kilometers. So it's a pretty unique sport in that way, and everyone kind of does everything as well. People obviously specialize in things, but for the most part, everyone kind of competes in most of the events at some point or another, and some people compete in every event.
And when we get to the Games, what will we see you competing in? Are you able to share that with us now?
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing the classic sprint, the skiathlon, and the skate 10K. There's 2 other events, but they're team events. One of them would be a team sprint, so it's with, if there was another girl on the team, I'd be doing that with them. And then there's also a relay, which I believe is mixed, but just we don't have enough people. So, and then there's also a 50K, but that's not really my strength. I think that would kind of take me out for the rest of the racing of the season. So I'll just be doing the first 3 events.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone wants to attempt a 50K. Can you run through each in turn for me?
So there's the skiathlon, which is a really cool event. It's a 20-kilometer event. Starts out with 10K of classic skiing, and it's a mass start, so everyone starts at once. And you go out and you do 10K, and then it's a really interesting event that you don't do very often. But then there's this exchange zone, and you go into it, you take your poles and skis off, you put new poles and skis on, and then you do skate skiing for another 10K. So it's pretty cool. Like, it's the only event where you do both. So it's pretty unique in that way. They're really exciting to watch because it's kind of like, someone might be better at classic skiing and someone might be better at skate skiing. So it kind of mixes up the field a bit, having both in there. And then there's a classic sprint. So with sprinting, it kind of depends on how you race, that you could either race once in the day or 4 times in the day. So you begin with doing a qualifier, and that's you just skiing the sprint course on your own, like interval start, as fast as you can. And then they take your times from that and take the top 30 skiers with like top 30 times. And they're the only people who move on. So if you have a field of 60, 70, there's going to be a chunk of skiers that they're done for the day. But then the top 30 skiers will move on to heats, and there's 3 rounds of heats, and then it's kind of like knockout until you're left with the final heat with 6 people in it. And then that's what determines the top 6. And then past that, like 7th to 30th is just based on time skied during the heat. So that one's really exciting as well. It's exciting to ski in and it's exciting to watch. Hopefully I'll be skiing in the heats, but we'll see. And then the last event that I'll be doing at least is the 10K interval start. So you've got your 2 starts, mass start, interval. Mass is everyone at once. Interval is usually 30-second intervals. So it's just people starting every 30 seconds, one person. So you kind of are racing your own race and you don't know how you've done till you cross the finish line. You get splits from your coaches on the course, so they can kind of tell you how many seconds you are ahead or behind someone. So it's nice. You can kind of get an idea, but you never know until everyone's done the race.
You've had an amazing year, because I think, I'll be honest, probably a year ago, you weren't on the radar to be Olympics selected, but you've come through and there you are, you're on the list today. So how would you describe that 12 months?
Yeah, so I switched because I used to ski for Canada, and then I haven't really raced in Canada all in the last 4 years because I was down at school in the States. So I don't really have any kind of ties to it anymore. Kind of, I might have been doing domestic racing. It's like a pretty harsh selection, and I kind of wanted to do something different with skiing, and yeah, GB's been great. Like, so much support. So I'm so well taken care of. But I did switch this year, and yeah, it's been awesome. Like, it's been so great getting to ski on the World Cup. That's kind of been a goal of mine for a long time, and being able to do that has been, yeah, like really fun. And I've got lots of friends on the circuit too from school, which is nice. Yeah, it's been an interesting 12 months, lots of learning to do on the World Cup. Obviously, it's kind of a whole different ball game. I've definitely been working towards this for a while, but I didn't really know if it was going to happen. Like, I was obviously hoping and training as though it was going to happen, but it's pretty cool now that it has kind of come to this. So it's very exciting.
I'll tell you, it's more than cool being selected for the Olympics. I think you downplay it slightly. Tell us the British connection then, how you qualify for GB.
Yeah, so I was born in Scotland. I was born in Aberdeen, and we lived just outside of Inverurie in the countryside. And I lived there until I was almost 6. So I learned to ski in my garden in Scotland, which it's pretty cool now, kind of, yeah, just like a full circle moment, skiing for Great Britain and, growing up learning to ski there. So that's pretty fun. And then we moved to Canada, just with my dad's work. It was supposed to be temporary, and we're going to come back. And then it's pretty nice over there, lots of skiing. So we didn't end up coming back. But yeah, I've been back to visit, and my dad's English as well originally.
And what does it mean to you today to be officially selected, be part of GB Snowsport, be part of Team GB for the Olympic Games?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, really exciting. And I think that the Olympics are kind of something that everyone looks to, and it's kind of a big goal, and it feels like maybe an unattainable goal. So kind of having the confirmation that it's going to happen is just, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's just really special, and I just really can't wait for it.
Michael talking to Anna Price, the 20th GB Snowsport athlete confirmed for Team GB, and we have it now confirmed. 53 in total representing the nation at these Winter Olympics. And we'll be there, as we've said, with more of their stories, their results, reaction to them during the games as well. There'll be a daily podcast rounding up all things Team GB, from skating to sliding, snowboard to skiing, everything in between as well.
And we know there's going to be other stories that unfold for us over the course of the 16 days of competition, 17 days of the Olympics. The stories, of course, have already started, and they will increase as the different delegations and the VIPs start arriving in Italy as well. So we'll have all those big headlines from the Olympics in our news from the games. We'll also give you an insight into what to expect each day ahead of time in what we're calling our TNT spot, tomorrow's news today. Follow us now and you won't miss out on Milan Cortina. This is Anything But Footy. The Olympics isn't the only games in town this week. There's a new Team GB boss in town as well. Details coming up in our latest news from the games next.
I'm Elias Smeeding, Team GB long track speed skater. You're listening to the latest on the Winter Olympics from Anything But Footy.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
You're listening to Anything But Footy. We just heard there from Elia Schmeding. She has warmed up, if you like, on the ice for her Olympics, her second Olympics in the long track speed skating, with a 9th place finish in the final World Cup event of the season. That was in the 1,000 metres. I think she told us that she's going to go for 2 events at the Olympics, but that was a brilliant 9th place finish in the 1,000 metres. And we've had the X Games as well, and we've spoken to so many of the ski and snowboard athletes, and
the coaches as well.
And the coaches, and where perhaps winter sport is slightly different from summer sport. In most of the summer sports, the Olympics is the be-all and end-all. It's the pinnacle, and that's what so many people trot out, isn't it? A sport should only be in the Olympics if it's the pinnacle. There's nothing in the Olympic values, by the way, that say that.
Yeah, golf, tennis, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's nothing in the values that says it should be the pinnacle. It should be. So there's no reason why football, golf, tennis, and other sports shouldn't be in the Summer Games. I've always made that argument. I think it's great that the Summer Games has those other sports and attracts those big names. And you ask Andy Murray, Novak Djokovic, what Olympic gold medals meant. Look at Novak Djokovic's hand shaking on the clay at Roland Garros in 2024, and you'll see why tennis should be in the Games. That is a conversation for another time. The reason I bring that up is because for the ski and the snowboarders, they're quite upfront and honest to say that actually the Olympics is good. It's a great event. They love doing it. But it isn't the be-all and end-all for them because they are in more lifestyle sports. And so there are other events which they grew up watching and following, which actually are more important to them or equally important to them to the Olympics. And I say all of that because we've had the X Games recently. And terrific X Games performances from British skiers and snowboarders. A first X Games title for Kirsty Muir in the women's free ski slopestyle. She also won a silver medal in the big air as well. Elsewhere, we had a gold medal for Zoe Atkin in the women's free ski half pipe, a score of 94.66. Mia Brooks won gold in the women's snowboard slopestyle, huge score of 96.33, and she also won a bronze in the women's snowboard big air, so that is her first X Games big air podium. So listen to those names, note them down. Kirsty Muir, Mia Brooks, Zoe Atkin. These are names that go into these Olympic Games in real contention for medals. They could be coming back with Olympic medals. Just want to mention some of the alpine skiers as well. Dave Riding, his final race in Kitzbühel was always going to be emotional. You remember just ahead of the last Winter Olympics in Beijing, had that terrific history-making World Cup win in Kitzbühel. 3 of his 7 World Cup podiums have come in Kitzbühel as well. I was watching it on Ski Sunday. He finished 20th, going, as we've said, for his 5th Olympic Games. Billy Major finished 24th. And a couple of para headlines for you as well. In the para-Nordic discipline, Scott Mina finished 5th in the 7.5 kilometre sprint at the Para World Cup event, finished 8th in the sprint pursuit and 7th in the 12.5k individual. And in para snowboarding, James Barnes Miller registered 6th and 4th place finishes, Ollie Hill 7th and 9th place finishes.
Of course, there are still some Paralympics GB athletes to be confirmed for Milano Cortina in the Paralympics in the weeks to come.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hear that during the Olympic Games, actually, which is unusual because normally Paralympics GB and most of the Paralympic associations around the globe leave the Olympic Games alone. But I think the way that qualification has happened with events, it's inevitable that we're going to hear some more names during the Olympics. And of course, we'll have those for you during the Games. We'll have to take a little sort of detour off our Olympic stuff into our Paralympic stuff, but we are more than happy to do that.
No problem at all. Now, we know that Eve Muirhead thrives on pressure. She's not an Olympic champion in her fourth and final Games for nothing, but as well as taking charge of Team GB for the very first time as chef de mission in Milano Cortina, she's got a new boss this week. Finally, after 4 months, Team GB have confirmed their new chief executive following the departure of Andy Hansen. And it will be John Dutton from British Cycling.
Great appointment, I think.
Which is someone we know well on the podcast. He'll take charge in the summer of this year. I'm sure we'll be watching the Winter Olympics with interest. But just over 3 years since taking over, let's be honest, reorganising, re-establishing British Cycling as one of the leading sports federations in the UK, if not the world as well, in my opinion. His tenure at British Cycling saw him lead the organisation through a Summer Olympic Games, which Team GB returned a total of 11 medals across lots of different disciplines. He also set up the Tour of Britain and ran that and staged that himself, or not himself, but his team, and took that away and created the women's version, which mirrored the men's version as well. So lots of ideas, and he does seem to have changed the way that British cycling is seen in the last few years. Of course, he also, as Michael knows, led the Rugby League World Cup in 2021 here in this country as chief exec.
It was a brilliant, unique one as well, because it had the men's, the women's, and the wheelchair tournaments running concurrently as well. I know it kicked off with a few little teething problems at the opening ceremony with the Kaiser Chiefs and Ricky Wilson having to fill in a bit, but I think it really did capture the public imagination. Certainly the Wheelchair Rugby League was absolutely brilliant, terrific audiences, really good TV audiences as well, good capacity crowds at some of the venues. So yeah, a great success for John there. And then in British cycling, as you say, also very successful.
We can't wait to see him in action and also see what's next for British cycling, because that's the difficulty. Great news for John. He moved on. British cycling have got to start all over again.
Yeah, I think what John Dutton did when he went into British cycling was he led a culture change. And, you know, we speak to a lot of people in elite sport, people in leadership roles, and that culture change piece, the values that you get from the top is so, so important. He came into British cycling knowing that he had 3 jobs essentially to do. One, obviously, you've got your elite program, the Olympics, the Paralympics, and your World Cups and all the rest of it. And those guys, they don't look after themselves. They still need to be guided, but they continue to win medals in what is an increasingly difficult...
As long as you make sure the team around them is right.
Yeah.
And that's what he's continued to do.
Yeah, and it's, as I said, increasingly difficult to win those medals because other nations are catching up. The rules have changed on the tech as well. So there's that piece. Then there was obviously the grassroots piece, because British cycling, as we know, has this huge remit that they have to basically look after cycling in this country.
Yeah, they're in charge of getting my son on a bike, effectively.
Yeah, and that's not the same for, say, British triathlon. All British triathlon exists is to get the triathletes to the Olympics or the Paralympics or into World Cup events. And then there was the events thing, which had been a real issue, thorny issue, fly in the ointment, whatever you want to call it, about what would happen with the Tour of Britain, cancellations, postponements. And he went in and he essentially set up part of British cycling to run events, which, as we know from the Rugby League World Cup, is something that he's done before and done very well. And I wonder whether we might want to revisit our British Olympic Championships idea events, where we've spoken about it on the podcast. I think we've blogged about it on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. Is there an opportunity to bring a lot of the British Olympic sports together somewhere like the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London, or you could do it in Manchester and Liverpool,
Sheffield,
Birmingham? We've got fantastic venues now after the Commonwealth Games with Sandwell and the Pool and the Alexander Stadium. Could you put something on over a bank holiday weekend where maybe you have 3, 4, 5 of these sports all happening at the same time? Create something. So with John's background, running events, Rugby League World Cup, running the British cycling events, maybe it's just something else to shove into his inbox. John Dutton. Yeah, I probably won't read the rest. I think you probably make the rest of that up. But no, I just think good appointment. a good guy in our experience as well. And I think that the job that he will now be advertised at British Cycling will be one that will attract some standout candidates, because I think he leaves that organisation in a really good place as well. We are focusing on Milan predominantly, though. Just a reminder, some other Olympic sport does continue, so do we. And in our news from the Games, staying with cycling actually, Zoe Backstead, the two-time under-23s world champion in cyclocross, is stepping up into the women's elite event this weekend. She's one of 10 cyclists competing for Great Britain at the UCI Cyclocross World Championships, which take place in the Netherlands.
And a name you might recognise from British cycling as well, Ben Wiggins.
Never heard of a Wiggins.
The multi under-23 and junior rider and son of Sir Bradley, of course, will also make his senior international debut in the British squad for the European Track Championships, which take place in Turkey all next week. So a really busy week for British cycling from Sunday, February 1st. The 23-strong squad features Olympic champions Emma Finucane and Sophie Capewell as well.
And 28-year-old American Josh Hoey broke the world 800 metres short track, what we used to call indoor athletics. Now got to get used to calling it short track athletics record in Boston at the first World Athletics Indoor Tour Gold meeting of the season.
They need to change the title of the World Athletics Indoor Tour Gold meeting if they're going to call it short track, but they are calling it short track, you're right. But as Michael said at the start of the podcast, Kirsty Coventry is in Milan. She was met by the president of the Milano Cortina organising committee, who are celebrating 70 years of innovations and legacy, because Cortina staged the games in 1956 with new timekeeping and even start gate innovations. Then in 2026, a record number of women competitors will be in the Winter Games. There's a new sport of ski mountaineering and new disciplines in skeleton, luge and ski jumping. And in a week's time, as we mentioned, Bruce Moat and Jen Dodds will start their competition in the curling mixed doubles, and we'll have more on that in the next podcast.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nelson, and you're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
So just a reminder, if you haven't got the memo already, we'll be there every day with a Milano Daily podcast. So I'll be there covering for radio, but joining John on the podcast every day from when competition starts with Bruce and Jen. We'll have Team GB results, we'll have reaction, we'll have interviews, we'll have stories and explainers, our news from the games, and TNT, tomorrow's news today. Don't forget to follow Anything But Footy. You can find us across our socials. You can also see our fixture list for 2026. That's online at our website, anythingbutfooty.com. If you're into any winter or summer Olympic or Paralympic sport, you will see the details of the events to follow in this calendar year. You can listen to our Spotify Olympics music playlist. We've had some new additions in recent days.
And we'll have some others once we know the wonderful opening ceremony that we're about to see in a week's time.
Do stay with us. Don't miss out on Milan, and we are looking ahead to LA.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Becker.
I'm James Hernandez.
Team GB Figure Skaters.
You're listening to the latest on the Winter Olympics from
Anything But Footy.